Heroku is finally dead. After years and years and years of people using the software, complaining about it, there's no alternative. End of 2022, this thing is dead. I hope nobody's continuing to use this in the next year. Save yourself some peace of mind. What am I talking about here? There's really 3 reasons I go into this. Heroku doesn't serve a valid use case anymore. I'll talk about how I migrated my startup to AWS in 2 weeks. It didn't take months and months of time to switch over from Heroku. And I'm going to show you just how shocking the price and performance difference is on a different platform like AWS. Really amazing. So who am I to talk about this? So my name is Aman. I help run Legaci.com. This is the middle one over here. We are all about building communities for creators and helping them drive to outcomes. I've worked at several different companies, some hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue. I've even worked at Salesforce before myself, so I've seen this process firsthand. And I've been in the startup ecosystem for a few years now. So let's talk more about this first point. Heroku doesn't serve a valid use case anymore. At one point in time, it definitely did. Sure. But not anymore. They got rid of their free tier. The service uptime is so inconsistent. Do me a favor and look up Heroku down on Google. And you're going to find thread upon thread upon thread upon thread about people complaining that, hey, for some reason, some part of this dashboard is down. My service is down. Something is down. I don't know what's going on. It's come up in my time using Heroku for our startup in the past 2-3 years that we've been using Heroku. Randomly, it will just go down it's bound to go down at least every 4 to 6 months. That something's going to happen and we can't control it. And the last point, an asterisk here, this is specifically for folks who are in that early PMF, pre-PMF stage as a startup. There is a huge dollar price on markup for services, and it is not suited for scale. Now, I'm going to dig into this specifically why this matters for pre-PMF startups, which is what Legaci is. So it may be a use case for someone that I don't know what that demographic is, but in my use case, who I feel like Heroku is suited for, it just didn't make sense anymore. This was the amount that we were spending per month on Heroku, and I'm gonna break down where this dollar amount came from. This is almost as much as rent. When you're trying to bootstrap a company, or you have a very limited runway and you're a tight team, this matters a lot. This is a huge number. So where does that dollar amount come from, right? It's really just a few things. The main driver of expense is their compute resources. Essentially, these are EC2 resources under the hood, but man, they're expensive, right? Your performance L Dyno, the top of the line for Heroku, is $500 each. So on our service, we had it set to auto scale up to 10. So at most, if we were under a high traffic situation, we'd be spending $5K a month, which is insane. That is so much money. On top of that, of course, on top of the compute resources, you want these ancillary services. So you're going to spend about $100 a month on a Redis cache, which if you go straight to Redis only costs about $10. So 10x price increase there. $200 a month for Postgres DB. $5 a month, we're going to try to do logging with LogDNA, Mesmo. And then $10 a month just to replicate the environments over in staging. So that's kind of what goes into that $2,500 amount. And it is quite a bit for a company that, you've just got some angel round, which is what we were in. Like most of the cost, we weren't paying ourselves, so most of the cost just went into this server cost. This was the straw that broke the camel's back for Legaci. Our servers fell over 3 times. The story here is, we signed a deal with the K-pop artist, BI, Hanbin. Okay, well, you see almost 900K followers on Twitter alone. He's got about 4 million on Instagram. He's a star. And K-pop fans are rabid. They love their artist. So each time the label did a promo on Twitter, we naturally got a huge influx of traffic. Well, the problem was the first time, hey, okay, you know what? Mea culpa, we didn't know what the traffic was going to be, so the servers fell over. Sure. So we went back. We're like, okay, we didn't even look at Heroku. We're like, okay, let's make sure we're on the highest settings, auto scale enabled, set it to 5 or 10 dynos just running, ready to go. Great. And we re-optimized our code. Because granted, look, we're a pre-PMF company. We're trying to find that feature set, that narrative, that packaging that's going to really work and scale out so we can have a business. I don't want to be worried about my infrastructure. I want to be worried about the customer and about what their problems are. But we had to go back and re-optimize our code because we were moving so fast. There was definitely like a lot of code that just was not optimized. So we did that. But then they did another Twitter promo and our servers went down again. So we triaged. We figured out where's our code lacking, solved it. Then the third time the same thing happens. At that point, we almost lost the relationship with the client. And it was at that point like, enough is enough. We can't be on Heroku. I get we have unoptimized code, but I don't want to be dealing with constantly worrying about my servers. I need to have something scalable that lets me get away with unoptimized code for a bit while we try to figure out what's going to be that product story that really makes sense for these customers. Granted, the outages were only 10, 15, 20 minutes each time, but that was enough for them to feel that we didn't have our act together. And at the end of the day, look, as a business owner, even though I run the engineering, I don't want to think about scale specifically. I want to think about solving my customers' problems, especially at this stage. It's a great problem to have, but it's not the problem that I want to be focusing on, and it takes a lot of brain power out from the day-to-day. Let's talk about how we migrated Legaci over to AWS in 2 weeks flat. The first thing we wanted to do was really understand what the requirements were. Next, I'll talk about kind of what the services we ended up using. And just a side note here, I really loved the AWS console and what's kind of become in the past few years. And I'll talk about kind of how we did that migration. So going from Heroku to AWS, we wanted to basically keep everything that we had in Heroku. And the offering is decent, right? Obviously, we were using it for almost 2-3 years. So what does that mean, right? We wanted to have GitHub deploys. That's got to be a must. We wanted to continue with the metrics dashboards that Heroku has. We wanted to keep up with logging. We loved how easy it was to do database migrations and stuff like that. But what I also wanted to do was, because we've had a lot of success on our front-end app migrating to Vercel, which is a serverless platform, we wanted to do the same on AWS. So that's kind of what the requirement was. Overall, we just wanted to maintain everything A to B. So what were the services we used in order to get this off the ground? Full list over here, quickly kind of scanning through it, right? So we got to have some DB layer. It's going to be RDS. We're actually going to use Redis Labs for our Redis instances. Just go straight direct. Like I said, the price difference was so much better when you go straight to Redis for this. Secrets Manager is going to host our environment variables across the staging and production environments. We use ECR to host our Docker builds, which are going to be new as part of this migration. We have ECS clusters and services to host the backend app and our workers. So again, in terms of simplicity, we just wanted to really maintain. We don't want to do too much work to migrate over to an entirely different backend framework. We just wanted to take, by and large, what we had in Heroku over into AWS. ELB for load balancing, pretty straightforward over here. Code pipeline got us those automatic deploys when we push to GitHub. We use CloudWatch for our dashboarding and monitoring. All that's built in. And this was really an amazing example. I'm going to dig into this later. The distributed load testing tool, the AWS CloudFormation template they have for this, is freely available for anyone to use. And this was a life changer. Really, really love this product that they put out here. This is that distributed tool testing tool. So we use JMeter to go ahead and grab all the network requests we were seeing on page load. And that tool is as simple as install the CloudFormation template, gives you a nice URL. You go ahead and drop your JMeter test into there, and you get this. You can run as many, I forgot what the max number is, but it's got 5,000 containers you can deploy, and each container can run 100 different users. So there's an ability for us, at least, to scale out as much as we could possibly foresee in this immediate stage until we got that next round of funding. Then we can hire more people and get a little more sophisticated about our load testing. But from 0 to just about a seed round, that type of traffic, we can reliably reproduce and validate that our infrastructure is set. So this was an amazing tool. I mean, we couldn't get something like this in Heroku. And you can see from the load testing tool and the results that we got, we went from $2,500 a month to free. How we went into free, bit of an asterisk here as well. By and large, the service cost was still we went down to about $400 a month for everything. So we went from $2,500 to $400. So it's still $2,000 saved. But on top of that, we had AWS credits. As a startup, we incorporated our business with Stripe Atlas. That gave us $10,000 in free AWS credits. So we just threw that to this new implementation, and now we don't pay anything for server costs. And we got an order of magnitude more performance out of it. Because we went serverless, because it's on ECS, Amazon takes care of the traffic. We have a bunch of containers that are really deployed, and they're lightweight. Because although our code is unoptimized, we're really just CPU bound. So I was able to set a very small footprint for each of our containers, and then just have the auto scale off of CPU usage. And I mean, I can just have an army of 40 containers just running ready the next time we have a K-pop artist wanting to launch with us. So that all in all, going through my experiences firsthand, and I was a big Heroku fan for a long time. How easy it was, how straightforward it was. There's just not a use case for this anymore. That's it. I'd say Heroku in 2023, not seeing any more use for it.